Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Life After Undergrad, Day 4 of 12 Days of Grace. I am Shanoa Manso, a licensed master social worker, a graduate student, a graduate assistant, and most importantly, your host today. Yesterday, we talked about grace in self-discovery, the quiet courage it takes to meet yourself again after years of being everything for everyone else. We explored how grace gives you space to remember who you are beneath expectations and noise, and how rediscovering yourself is less about becoming someone new and more about coming home to what's always been within you. Today, we move in a little deeper from discovering who you are to living who you are. This is grace in authenticity. Authenticity is one of those words that get tossed around so often that it can start to lose its weight. But when you really sit with it, authenticity is about alignment. It's the moment your inner truth and your outer life finally start fighting each other. Grace and authenticity doesn't ask you to perform or prove. It asks you to be honest, honest about what you need, what you feel, what you value, and what you're no longer willing to carry. There was a time in my life where I thought being authentic meant sharing everything, every detail, every emotion, every story. But I've learned that authenticity isn't about exposure, it's about intention. It's about choosing to show up as your whole self, not your curated self. It's being brave enough to say, this is me, even if you don't understand it, or even if it's not the best day and the most bright, happy person that you want to be. And grace plays a big part in that because being real comes with risk. The risk of being misunderstood, the risk of losing certain relationships, the risk of outgrowing spaces that once felt safe. Grace is what softens that process. It reminds you that you're not being too much for choosing truth. You're being you. There's a certain freedom that comes when you stop performing for approval. You start dressing differently, speaking differently, and even moving through your day differently, lighter, clearer, at peace. That's grace in motion, the release of pretending and just being in action. But let's be honest, authenticity isn't always easy. Sometimes it means admitting you've changed. Sometimes it means saying no when you used to say yes. Sometimes it means standing alone for a little while until you find the people who recognize the real you. Grace gives you permission to do that without bitterness or guilt. It whispers you're allowed to outgrow who you used to be. And you know what's beautiful? When you start honoring your truth, life starts to mirror the honesty back to you. The right people find you. The right opportunities flow to you. And the version of you that once felt hidden starts to breathe again. That's what authenticity feels like. So today, I want you to ask yourself, where in my life am I still performing? What part of me is ready to be seen? Not for validation, but for peace. Grace will meet you there. It'll hold space for the messy parts, the quiet shifts, the uncertain steps, the mistakes. We're human. Because authenticity isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about showing up. You don't have to prove who you are. You just have to be who you are, gently, consistently, and truthfully. That's grace. So, while this was a little bit of a shorter episode today, I want to thank you for staying around and continuing to follow along this beautiful series. I hope that it assists you in your journey, and I hope that we are able to reflect, to feel a bit of peace as we wrap up the end of this year and go into a newer, brighter future that can really impact change, whether that's within ourselves, within our community. So, as we wrap up here today, thank you again for staying tuned to the fourth episode of 12 Days of Grace, Day 4, Grace in Authenticity, the Life After Undergrad podcast, of course. If you're interested in staying up to date with the most recent uploads, feel free to drop a follow at TVSWCT on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and you can stay updated through that or our website, www.tvswct. So until next time, see ya.